Shalom. When the start of by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Kakadosh, double honors to the Apostle, great millstone, and honors to brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, with whom the world ignorantly calls God Jehovah or Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh. His son's real name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, burning in, harmony that, and Sham, meaning names, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Real quick. This once again is inspired by the controversy brought about by the babbling barracuda, right? But let all things be done unto edification, right? So as everyone, we've been using this as an opportunity for education, right? And one of the things it's good to go over is the topic of reincarnation, like of the Israelite foreigners, or the reincarnation. That's also another important thing in the scriptures, right? Another stumbling block that the Lord has laid out, right? So the Babylon Barracuda was basically speaking about, you got white people in your camp, right? Which they ain't no such thing as white people, they ain't no such thing as black people, they ain't no such thing as yellow people, right? You are what your father is, right? I.e., basically, we all go down to one of the nations, written in the scriptures, right? And there was the example of, the example that keeps being given about how you're gonna have, Israelites, or rather people you think that are Israelites just because they're dark skinned, but they're really Edomites, right? And there's a guy that I see on my walk every day, and he's just strange, isn't it? He's so-called, so-called black man. But he's just strange, and the thing is as well. So when I look at his kids are kind of strange as well. I'm just like, what's going on here, right now? Could that guy be an Edomite? Potentially, right? But it is one of those things where you just because he's dark skinned, right? You give him the benefit of the doubt. And I remember, my brother. He's saying that as an example. It was like, look, you're gonna have certain people that, if they weren't so-called, black or whatever, what have you, you'll be like, that's some heathen, right? Like I said, this particular individual, if he wasn't a so-called black man, I would have just said, man, that's some heathen, okay? But having that skin, you kind of like, oh, it might be, who knows? And that ultimately is what it is, right? I remember the apostles breaking down. We use the example of the wheat and the tares, right? But what was it? The tares looked like the wheat, right? I.e., the tares looked like Jake, right? So that's why ultimately it's just a thing about being spiritual, right? And just going with it, right? Because Jake's going to look like anyone, right? Jake's going to look like anyone on the face of the planet Earth, man, right? But people want to, like I said, once again, people just want to overcomplicate things, right? But we also know that it's a stumbling block. So let's just go through the storyline of how we even ended up here in the first place. Right, this is Deuteronomy 4:27. It says, "And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left." In fact, let me read. I'll just jump straight to the point because I've got quite a few precepts. Right, it says, "And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell." And that's another thing you may be seeing, Israelite, foreigners, right, just doing some heathenistic ass stuff, man. Once again, earlier on, rather at the back end of last week, I was watching, a documentary travel show in India, right, and you're just seeing how, all of the, gods, the multitude of idols that they worship out there. And one of the things you're like, yo, but guess what? You're going to have Israelites amongst those people. I mean, you got 1.4 billion people. You're going to tell me there are no Israelites amongst that number, where here it is, we're described as the sand of the sea, right? Of course you're going to have Israelites in that number. Yet when but once again, when you see them, and some of the heathenistic things that they be doing, you're gonna be like, yo, what? But that's the power of the Lord, okay? That's the power of the Lord. So continuing on, right? It says Deuteronomy 28:64 says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people." And this is the curses. This is a curse. Yeah, because ultimately, yeah, to look like a heathen, that is a curse, right? The best way to look, right, is a deep dark brown, right? That is the royal look, if you will. Okay, when you read the description of Yahweh Shai, it says, as if burned in a furnace, right? So, she may be like, oh, whatever. But yeah, it is a curse. This is one of the curses, right? That is upon our people, right? But one of the precepts that we go and end with, right, is the fact that that curse is going to be lifted. So it says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, right? And that's literal. That's literal. Israel's going to be scattered, and that doesn't mean you're going to have the odd so-called a black man in these nations. That means they're going to procreate. Because I mean, what did Jake do? Or what is the spirit of an Israelite, right? To get it in, we ain't like these heathens. What was said in Exodus, right? They are not like the Egyptian women, for they are lively. Right, basically, ultimately, we all have spirit as a nation. We all have spirit. Even our women have spirit. Okay, so Jake, when we're out there, but we gonna be getting it in. We ain't like Esau. Esau pushes this whole idea of just having, one or two children in his own kingdom. Right, Jake will be getting it in. So if you had the one Jake, right, that was sent over to China, guess what? He will have got it in. Right, and you're going to have some Mei Lings that are really, a Shaniqua at heart, right? It says, it says, and once again, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right, and that's what will happen. And we went there, and over generations we forgot who we were. So Jeremiah 17:4 says, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I'll cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my heart, which shall burn forever. So once again, we end up in this position where you have Israelites scattered amongst all of these different nations, but like now we don't even know who we are anymore. Back in the ancient world, you may have looked different from the other, Israelites around you, but guess what? We have the records to be like, oh no, actually, yeah, that's still such and such, of Levi. That's still, Dawada Banyahawada, regardless of how, an individual looked, because we had the records. But now we can only go by the spirit, right? Which once again is why we have to be spiritual in this thing, okay? So next one, once again, we were scattered. Right? I've got a few of these. The fact that we were just scattered, right? Ezekiel 36:19. So, and I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries according to their way and according to their doings. I judged them, right? So once again, this is a punishment, right? The fact that you have Israelites that have grown up, doing heathenistic things. Just keep it real, right? Doing heathenistic things, right? But the Lord had mercy. Right, the Lord is merciful, such that He's allowed us to return to who we are. Right, remember who we are, okay, and come back to the understanding that those ways, that things that we were doing before the Lord brought us into this truth, they were wicked, right? They were off, right? Something that people think is simple, like eating swine's flesh, that's wicked, okay? So much so that the Edomites, that's one of the things they specifically tried to force us to do. And the next precept, Baruch 3:8, right? Behold, we're yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us. So we're still in captivity, so we're still scattered, right? But once again, that's why when you read the rest of Deuteronomy 28:68, there is a step-by-step guide on how to identify an Israelite in these last days, okay? And that's why one of the things you be following, certain individuals. You be just kind of observing their life. It's like, bro, that person, and it's kind of like they're in the curses, they're under the curses, man. Right? You observe them a little bit more. You try their spirit a bit more. It's like, oh shit, that's it, Jake. Right? And certain people you can't even tell from them. Certain people you got to tell from their relatives on their father's line, right? once again, the Lord had mercy in the way, that I kind of came up, right, where I was able to observe these relationships, right, where, I remember seeing one. It was a work thing where the dad was a straight up Jake. He was one of them, scriptures refer to an old adulterer that doteth, right. He was one of them smooth ass adulterous ass, Israel. I'll just say he was a nigger in it, right. He was an old adulterous ass nigger, but he didn't look like us. Yet his son, because I met his son first, right, and I was like, yo, this is some heathen, man, right? So much so that I was like, yo, is this really his father, right? But then lo and behold, over a process of time, I started seeing more and more of that Israeliteness come out from the son, whereas it was so evident in the father, right? And then once again, in the same workplace, you had the two brothers. One brother, once again, just a straight up, as we call him, a proud so-called white Jake, right? Proud as hell, right? But one of those, he was, just gonna keep it real. He was one of them super Jakes, one of them Jakes that can just do anything, right? But once again, he looked so-called white. Yet his brother, when I first met his brother, I was like, yo, you two related for real? Because his brother, what one of the terms I used to use a lot is a Edomized Jake. He's a Jake, but he's lived that Edomite life so much he acts like an Edomite. He does things like an Edomite, right? But over a period of time, right, you start seeing semblances. I was like, oh no, this is just a a ninja, man, that's been around these Edomites too long, right? Hey, certain times, like you may see an Eve, right, and then the way she be behaving, because she's grown up around Edomite, she be behaving like an Edomite. But when it comes to that neck roll, you're like, there it is. There's that Negro woman, right? That ninja woman that we know, right? So just a quick, story time, but that's what it is, right? So let me finish. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, right? According to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. So we are scattered, right? But this is the beautiful thing, because we're now coming into this a time where we have, well, really, we've been in this time where Israel has remembered who they are, right? The Lord has allowed for this, okay? So it says, rather, it was the Lord's plan in the first place, right? That we will be scattered, forget who we were, that you'd have this whole controversy of the Gentiles, right? People and people say, oh, that's not Israel, that's not Israelite, whatever, what have you, right? But that was to be a stumbling block unto those people that didn't believe, so that the Lord could destroy them, right? Catch that, right? So it says, Baruch 2:30 now, for I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, right? But in their land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and that's what's been happening, right? In the land of our captivities, right? We've been remembering ourselves, right? You're gonna have Israelites that are on the other side of the world. I don't necessarily look like your archetype Jake, if you will, right? And then they're gonna be watching like, yo, shit, yo, I resonate with this. I vibe with this, right? And a lot of times they are ostracized by their own society. Their own society don't particularly like them or whatever, what have you, because they not necessarily, let me rephrase that, right? Maybe they don't they haven't watched the videos and stuff, but when they see how Jake are, right, they're like, yo, I resonate with this, right? And then if it comes to it and they come across the videos, they're gonna be like, oh shit, that makes sense, right? Like, I remember brother showed me what was it, Amijos in Japan, right? And then yeah, Amejo, right? When you look that up, right, you basically see how certain of those bros be behaving. You be thinking that's just a nigga woman with makeup, man, right? But let individuals that are into that culture then find the videos. They're gonna be like, oh, that's me. That makes sense. Sort of like the Simpsons episode when they find out that they have so-called black heritage, right? Let me look at that's why my jazz is so smooth, right? Yeah, so and that's it. So it's in the episode, The Color Yellow, The Simpsons, The Color Yellow, right? It says, Lisa, we're 1/64th black, but so that's why I'm so cool, Lisa, and that's why my jazz is so smooth, okay? And that's it, right? Because that spirit, you can look however you want, but that spirit is still in there, right? But yeah, talking too much. Let me just finish this up, right? So Baruch 2:30, for I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people, but in their land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, right? So Jake, no matter where we are, we're remembering who we are, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, coming back to this truth, right? Reading the scriptures, and then as we're about to read in verse 32, I'll wait for it, it says, and shall know that I am the Lord their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in their land of their captivity and think upon my name. Right, so remembering who we are as a nation and remembering the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and Deuteronomy 30:3, and then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahweh thy power hath scattered thee. Right, so that's it. We're now on this period again, right, where the Lord is reminding us who we are. Right, but ultimately that is fully going to happen when Israel is beamed up into them chariots, okay, and that's it. This is Ezekiel 37:10, and this once again, this is why Esau is getting scared, right? Because the whole of Ezekiel 37, the chapter, right, about the tribes coming back together, and one of the things, remembering who we are, this truth, coming back into us, right? So it says Ezekiel 37:10, so I prophesied as he commanded, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army, right? And the fact that, part of that army is people that don't necessarily look so-called black, right? Makes Esau's job a lot harder, because he wants to just make it seem like this is a black thing, right? And in fact, there was even an article that was made of the, trying to slander the brothers, right? One of the brothers out there in Europe, right? One of the camps out there in Europe, where basically there was like, I believe they still call it like a black Hebrew Israelite thing, but then in the picture they used, right, was a so-called white looking brother, right? But once again, that is an Israelite, right? Which is why they, more and more they've just started saying Hebrew Israelites, right? I believe anyway, okay. And that's it. So when you start seeing, camps in parts of the world you wouldn't expect, right? Esau's getting scared by that with individuals in those camps that you wouldn't expect. Okay. This is Isaiah 11:11. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea, right? Basically saying Israel's scattered everywhere, right? You have Israelites from literally everywhere. And once again, it doesn't matter how they look. Jeremiah 23:3, and I'll gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. Right, so wherever Israel are gathered, right, one day the Lord is going to come, with the chariots, right, which the majority of deliverance is going to be over there in America, but you're going to have, elect, picked up from wherever they are, right, through the power of the Lord. Okay, Ezekiel 36:24. Now, when you read through Ezekiel 36, one of the things it says first, like, look, man, you went off, so I'm gonna scatter you. But here it's now saying in verse 24, for I'll take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. So it's the Lord that is going to bring us into our own land, right? No foreign governments, wink, wink, right? So we're going to be beamed up into those chariots. Those will be of the elect, right? Witness the destruction, right? And when all is said and done, when the dust settles, right, gonna be, put, back in our land, right? Revelation 7:9. This is after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, right, stood before the throne. This is the Israelite foreigners. Before anyone tries to get, any ideas, right? It's just talking about the Israelite foreigners coming back to who it is that they are, right, and then being delivered, right? Because Revelation 7 is going into the 144,000 basically being being sealed, right, and ultimately the deliverance. Okay, It says, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, right? And cried with a loud voice, saying, "Salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb." Once again, proving, this is talking about Israelites, because Yahweh Hashem Yahshua ain't dealing with no other nations. What is it? Psalms 147, right? You have not dealt so with any other nation, right? So, and that's it. And that's the point. So you're gonna have, Israelites in that day, right? Beamed up, right? But they, at first, right? You go and look at them. It's like, yo, wait, hey, who's that, right? But then it's going to be made clear that those are Israelites, right? The one to close it off is this, right? 1 Corinthians 15 and 52. Right, because she was like, "Oh, you got so-called white people in your camp." Yeah, but in that day, when it comes to the deliverance, when they're in that chariot, guess what? They're gonna be changed, right? They're gonna get their color back. They're gonna get that royal look back. Okay, this is in a moment. 1 Corinthians 15, 52, 51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed, right? Because for some of the elect, they've died the last time already, right? They ain't never gonna die again, right? This is they're gonna go from this life, be changed, and then to eternal life, right? Yes, some of us are gonna die, right? But that ain't gonna be the majority this time around. It says, we shall not all sleep, we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall all be changed. And why must we be changed? For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality, right? And that's it, man. We're going, we all going to be changed, right? Even us. Here it is. You may be like, oh yeah, but I'm a so-called, black person or whatever, what have you. But your body's through, right? Your back is always given out, right? Your eye don't work properly, right? Your liver don't work properly. Yet people want to be proud. We're all going to be changed. It don't matter about this body, right? This body, what was referred to as the chains of darkness. So it don't matter about this body at all. It matters about the spirit, right? Because our Kim are young men, but hey, we're one way or another. For our bodies, we're already feeling it, man. Our bodies just be through, because this is hell, right? So as always, Lord, that was edifying. Until next time, we say Shalom.